Hi there. Today I'm going to chat about making these corner posts for my art shop. I'm going to talk about some tools and some methods that I used that you may want to use yourself or avoid after you've watched me. Relief carvings like these posts are a lot easier to do than a three-dimensional carving, and so in a way they're less impressive, I guess, but they are a very nice way to add an accent to a building, and so it's a good thing to do. This duality of this this god of difficulty and perseverance versus this goddess of beauty and life came to me a long time ago. I was turning 40 and I was out of my mind. I was like that country and western song about the idiot that's ruining his life. That was me. It was a kind of an interesting story, but not very flattering, so we're not going to talk about it. But among the many revelations I had when I turned 40 was that my life is just a series of dualities. And they're not the kind of dualities that fit together neatly. They're the kind of ideas that clash, the kind that are mutually exclusive. For instance, life itself is empty chaos, but it also has meaning. Both of those concepts are truths in my mind, but they can't occupy the same space, if you see what I'm saying. Back in 2008, I drew up this tattoo and had it put on my arm to represent my existence. In the center here is this sphere of swirling dualities that represents the core of my life. And then all of these forces are growing from it in different directions. One of the forces here is, of course, the god of difficulty and pain and struggle. On another side is the goddess of life and beauty and gifts. There are also some other opposing forces that made sense at the time, but they're a long story that we're not going to talk about now. But anyway, since my art is defined by my life, and my life is defined by a series of conflicting ideas, I have the god and the goddess on my art shop. Today I'm working on carving the posts for my shop. So yeah, we'll go look at that and see how that's going. It looks like crap now. And that's what I so love about art. When you start, it looks like crap, and then it looks good. And then often I'll turn it back into crap again. But sometimes it'll turn good again after that. So this one, I think, is going to be good in the end, but it's crap now. That's very fascinating, watching the progression from crap to goodness. It's like a metaphor for life, from crap comes goodness. Write that down. I just used this bad boy here. Angle grinder with a chainsaw teeth to carve this. You can see ink is what I'm gonna carve to. Okay, here's my setup. It's a Fordham. There's the motor, the cable, and the tool down at the bottom. It drives a little burr. It's kind of like a Dremel tool on steroids. Got all these different kinds. Little tiny burrs. Big ones, round ones, square ones. finished carving. There it is. I'm going to put a little stain on this using that little brush. I'm going to try this fruit wood. A Danish oil finish. Fruit wood. It's kind of got a little nice reddish, brownish, groovy color. Let's see how it goes. This may be the best it ever looks right here. I may just screw it up by putting on stain, but I can't help it. So what do you think? I'm thinking I'm going to take a torch to this. I think it'll be interesting when the flame hits not only these kind of cuts, right? The cuts have sharp corners that'll burn faster, but also it's got this oil in it. It might have a cool reaction. Let's try it. I have been drinking heavily, so my judgment may be not the best, but let's see what happens. It might be awesome, maybe less than awesome. It's not much of a flame. Barely suntan kind of flame, right? I could probably stick my face in this and that'd be okay. I may not be at my very most, what word am I looking for? Tuned in. Burn her lips off. No, we're not gonna do that. Okay, I'm gonna have to turn this video off before I set my chair on fire. And we'll just look at it when we're done. How about that? Well, good morning. I've sobered up. And I'm looking at my work I did last night. I'm not amazed. Let's turn this around and see what we've got and see what we need to do to make it better. Okay, so this is what we have. It looks burned all right. Maybe not in a good way. So I'm gonna take some sandpaper to this. I don't like the way, you know, I'm almost opposite of what I need. I need the dark to be in the low places. Of course, the burn just hit the high places. So I suppose I've learned a thing. Let us get back to it and see what we have after a bit more work. I sanded off the extra burned bits. And when you sand, it sort of highlights the high points a little bit. It's now time for me to start making this viney guy look more like this viney lady over here. Except he's going to be craggier and uglier. You can see I've just started kind of taking down, I'm kind of shaping this face here. So even though I've drawn on the vines as I want them to be, I'm gonna carve this back really heavily. I'm gonna erase the lines. The lines just show me where to start, so I can take his cheeks back, you know, and the eyes back, the nose out, lips a little out, not as far as the nose, like that. On this lady, I didn't really show you how the tools worked. I just showed you what I used, and this time I'm gonna show you how they work in case you want to try wood carving, or if you are a wood carver and just haven't used all these tools. So to really bring this face out, you know, you need a bigger tool than some of these, like the Fordham or whatever that I've been using. You need something that'll remove a lot of wood. There's this thing here, the Lancelot. This is called a Lancelot carving disc. It's made by King Arthur's Tools. I just said you need a bigger tool. I didn't notice I said that. I was hoping nobody had noticed, but I got to thinking everybody'd be snickering. Anyway, This I call the Widowmaker just because it's a pretty dangerous piece of equipment. It wants to grab pretty hard. It moves. And then when I'm getting into tight places, I'll remove this handle, and then I'm just hanging onto it, you know, like this, for dear life. And it'll do that. I'm 53, so I figure I can lose some parts now. You know, it's towards the end. You just sort of lose bits until you reach the grave, I guess. So let's fire it up, and you can just see how this works. I do have to warn you, this is a pretty old disc. This disc is, I'll bet it's 10 years old. And I've sharpened it and sharpened it until it just doesn't sharpen that great anymore. I should get a new one. When this thing is new, it takes off wood 10 times as fast as it is now. Now you can see it's burning a little bit. And so, you know, not in the best shape. I'll get another one maybe before I do another video, and I will we'll look at how awesome that is when it's new. But let us carve a little bit. But I know what I want to talk about. I just want to talk about faces for a second. We always look at faces face on, and we think of them in this kind of, I think subconsciously we think of them as kind of two-dimensional, but they're very, a face is very hatchet-shaped, really, like my chin. It's that angle. There's more backness than planarness, if that makes sense. So I really need to pull these cheeks way the heck back in there. So let's have at it. I got my safety glasses on, and let's just give you a minute or two to watch this. I won't bore you for half hour or anything. Okay, I reckon that's enough for you to get the idea. I'm gonna have at it, and we'll talk in another few hours. All right, so I've been working at this, I don't know, 45 minutes or something, half hour. And I talked about how three-dimensional a face is, but the thing is that this has to have vines. It's got to be defined by the vines, so I can't totally carve a face, right? I have to sort of cheat in between. This two-dimensional face that I said doesn't really exist, and then the three-dimensional face. As you can see, he's very flat-faced. And he's probably going to be a pretty flat-faced. This girl here, the lady, her face is fairly flat. I just gave enough curve in the cheeks and the nose to give it an idea of being a face. But you can see how flat it really is when you get around. Maybe I should have carved it deeper. I don't know. I like it. Let's just say not. Let's say it's perfect. This guy, since he's so craggy, he's going to have a little more depth to him. But that's okay. That they're a little different, but this is a post that needs to hold up a building. I can't carve it completely out, right? So, and again, the vines just need an indication of a face to follow. You know, this vine grows up here, comes around this corner, comes up this way. So this is about as much damage as I can do with the Lancelot, the King Arthur Lancelot there. Next, we're going to pull out the next tool. This is an Arbor Tech. An Arbor Tech made in Australia. You can see it's a much smaller grinder. It's got this little, you can see my hand there. It's maybe a 2-inch wheel. It's an interesting piece. I like this tool. I might recommend it, except the switch has died on it. So when you plug it on, when you plug it in, it's on, which is super dangerous. So this is this tool. That's how this thing works. You can see with just a small wheel you can get into a lot tighter places. I can do more finer work. So the only thing I want to talk about is I do need to put this handle back on. I took it off so I could get into small places, but as you noticed, I got my finger pretty close up there. So maybe I wouldn't recommend running it this way. But besides that, I did keep my fingers and I'm happy. You can just see how you can get into tighter places. You can work around, you can get into places. So this will be my next level of wood removal before I jump back into other smaller tools. Okay, so I'm making some progress here. I've got a lot of extra lines in. I'm not going to carve all these lines in. They're just thinking lines. I think that's as much relief as that face should have. So now, though, I'm going to be using this Fordham. And here is the bit that I'm using right now. Bit or burr, whatever you call it. This round one. It gets right in here really nicely. Let's look how it works. You need the eye to, you know, the eye is quite this is a closed eye, of course. I think I'm not going to use this one. I think that's what I've decided. We're not going to carve it too hard here. I want to leave that high in the middle. I would carve a little more intensely if I wasn't holding a cell phone in one hand. I hope this just gives you an idea of where you can get with this tool. I feel like this episode began really strong and then it just sort of fizzled at the end. And in this case, I really totally missed the exciting part. You know, a lot of work with the Fordham and then hours and hours of sanding that I hope to capture because I know that everybody was looking forward to that the most. So again, sorry. The only thing I can do is I'm going to artistically bridge this gap between the end of the footage and where this episode should end up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform an interpretive dance, a carving dance, and recite some poetry. And I think that will just bring it right perfectly together. So here we go. Okay, so maybe the interpretive dance was not the best idea, but actually I just wanted to see the look on your faces and it was worth it. But you know what? I'm gonna go take you outside and we'll recite some poetry and we will look very closely at the finished pieces of work. Let's go. Gifts of knives and nails. A long, difficult journey. Oh, what a a bastard. It's a haiku. It actually sounds a lot better in Japanese. Somehow when I translated it to English, it lost some of its awesomeness. Illumination. A cat in a sunny window. Concert drink tokens. It's another haiku. And again, probably a lot better in Japanese.